about a guy with problems.
Tough break.
I can't take it no more. No wonder he's smoking a pound a week.
Somebody won.
So now we had a famous clientele, and
Green Eyes gonna miss you.
and guess what else?
Call me next week. About weed.
Uh-oh, we got rosin versus resin. Ooh, which extract
Welcome
you
back
like
to the
the
slow
most?
burn. Today we are discussing rosin over resin.
But I ain't finna watch
What
her
are
'cause,
they?
You know,
How are they made? Is one stronger?
Y'all can
Is
watch
one
me.
better? And which modern herb
Well, listener,
products can you
shout
find
out to
them in?
listener news. Y'all know how we do. We don't kick it up to real time speed because, you know, listening to people
Tell me,
monologue that
what
ain't
is
what we
rosin?
do.
Let's start there.
So rosin is a solventless concentrate. I'd say it's like kind of known as like the maybe cleanest or kind of simplest form of making a cannabis concentrate.
And concentrate is typically what you have in like dabs and stuff. Right?
Correct. Yeah.
Also a video we just made. So what is resin?
And resin is going to be that same, concentrating down, whether, again, both of these could be from CBD or THCA plants. A big distinction is you're using a solvent.
So with rosin, you're not using a solvent, and with resin, am I doing it right?
Yeah,
With resin,
exactly.
You are using a
Yeah.
solvent.
And don't feel bad. It's like literally probably the most confusing distinction, I'd say, in my experience in the industry. But
Right.
people that I've worked in the industry for a decade that still kind of confuse the two. So
What's the difference?
yeah, it's one small letter between them, but they're like vastly different.
Okay, so yeah, can you tell me a little bit more about, so there's a solvent in resin, and then there's not a solvent in rosin, and how does that make them so vastly different?
Yeah. So rosin first starts from hash. So to make you take, the
So, my last concentrate run that I had, I'm currently out of concentrates almost. I mean, I got some personal, but as far as the merch deals go, they're currently, as a matter of fact, I need to change up some things on Buy Me a Coffee. So that's what video we'll be doing Saturday. Shout out to Saturday. Anyways, but yeah, I had rosin, not resin, because like you said, the rosin I had came from a facility that does not use anything to, get the motherfucking shit done. So, which is the good news on my side, because hell, I'm only trying to smoke weed and weed accessories, not whatever chemical makeup to get it, the one to the other. You dig? Shout out to the one to the other part of the game. But let's go.
the cannabis plant, again, whether CBD or THCA, the same. And you either kind of there's a lot of ways to make hash, but the most common are like ice water, like bubble hash. So I'm using ice and water to separate off the trichomes, which are like these little think of like water balloons with THC and terpenes in there that we want on like a microscopic level. So you either can use like ice and water to pull those guys off, or you can use it's called dry sift, where you're essentially think of you're sifting off with just like a screen to pull off the trichome. So either way, I've now separated the trichome heads from all the plant material. And then I take that hash and then press it with a big press and heat. Like how rosin first started, people were using hair straighteners.
Really?
To actually press, and that was some of the first rosin getting made, I believe. Where some heat and pressure is then what separates the hash and gets
extracted out.
Exactly, get those trichome heads to separate from the concentrate. And so that's all you're using is essentially make the hash with water or some kind of sift, and then heat and pressure. So then there's no solvent used in that.
Is one then considered better? Is the one rosin, since there's no solvent, does that make it better? Or is there really a difference?
My personal opinion, I just think, I don't know, maybe it's a little too diplomatic. I just say they're different.
Yeah.
I think rosin has a lower yield. It's more, you need to really watch the material that goes in. It's very finicky. Some strains don't wash well to rosin, some do. So it's more of a craft process for sure.
Okay.
But then resin gets more scalable. We can, make a lot more strains will yield well with live resin as opposed to rosin, so we can do a lot more with it. But there's some technical details. Like technically speaking, I think you might get more terpene in live resin, in my personal opinion, as opposed to rosin. So I just say they're different, and it just depends what you're going for.
Can you explain the loss of terps in rosin due to temperature?
With resin first, we're keeping that fresh frozen, whole plant. Again, in the last video that we went through on live resin, how it's made. These plants are frozen the whole time. They stay in the freezer, and then when we extract it, we're actually putting that at -40. So it's super cold, subcritical temperatures, and it stays that way all through the process. So terpenes are naturally will off gas at room temperature. They'll start to disappear, and because these are frozen the whole time with live resin, you keep all of those terpenes. They're all sequestered throughout the whole process, and they don't go anywhere. And then you get arguably more in your final extract. Whereas when you make rosin, you're taking that hash, and when you put it through the press,
What up, Piff?
you're
Good
getting
to
some
see you. How
temperatures
you
over
doing?
100, 120 degrees.
You know
And there's
me,
evidence to show that
consistent
some
corn in the
terpenes will off
building.
gas at 100, 120 degrees. So there are terpenes that
AKA
if I ran the same
keeps
strain
it
for
popping.
rosin versus a resin process, you would get more terpenes in that resin because there's some that are just going to naturally off gas.